I'm gonna do a burnout. I mean, why wouldn't I? One of my first cars that I ever bought was a 1984 Plymouth Duster that my mom was a realtor, and it was in front of a house she was selling, and the guy didn't know what to do with it. And he said, lady, if you tow it out of here, you can have it. Give me $50. And so she comes home and she's like, there's this car there. You can have it, $50. I wrote a check at 15 out of my checking account and bought this car. So that's actually my first purchase car. But my first new car was when that car died, when I graduated high school. And this car was a year old. It was a 2000. I bought it at a dealership and I was super happy about it. It was a 2000 Cavalier Sport, 2-door, 2.2 dual overhead cam powerhouse. This car was my introduction to having anything new. And of course I immediately started to mod it. We cut the springs, exhaust, we painted all the interior pieces red to match the outside of the car. I was freshly out of the house and in an apartment with my friends in Gwinnett, and I was online searching for parts for the car one day, and I found a car club called the J Body Club of Georgia. And I immediately went to those guys and got part of a car club and everything. And one of the guys there would do this trick, or really kind of he had a ECU program or whatever, but he could plug it in and he could change your shift points in automatic on the car. So we did that to the car. So I'm with my high school friends one day in this car, all my buddies in all our cool little cars, and we decide we're gonna go bowling. And so we go to the bowling alley, we have fun. There's about five cars of us. And when we leave, as car guys do when they leave places, we want to show off. So the one thing that this car could do that nobody could understand is it would chirp second gear. If I shifted it manually, I could bark second gear, and it would do tire smoking front wheel drive burnouts. And nobody knew how this little car could achieve this, but it's something that I learned how to do. So leaving this bowling alley, there's a huge hill out of the side of the place. The place faces Jimmy Carter, and out of the side of it on a side street, there's a huge hill. So we're all going out of this hill. I'm first. I pull up, I look back and see all 5 cars behind me, everybody with their music on. I'm gonna do a burnout. I mean, why wouldn't I? So I proceed to pull the e-brake, lock the car down, and I did about a minute and 15, a minute and a half of probably still to this day, probably the most glorious burnout that I've ever done. And I've done some. I mean, I smoke half of the parking lot out behind me. You can't see the cars behind me. I burn out. I pull up onto the street and turn towards Jimmy Carter and stop. I had to open my doors to let the smoke out. I mean, old school Chevelle style burnout. And I'm waving the door. I'm looking back at everybody. They're literally leaning out of their cars, cheering like, "Oh my God, yes!" And I'm feeling like $1 million. First of all, I'm waving the door, letting the smoke out, and then I just see all of their faces drop. I'm like, huh. I look out of my right window, and there are 3 Gwinnett County police officers in the gas station adjacent to the street, running towards my car at full speed. And so, like a deer in the headlights, I'm just stuck looking like, okay, what do I do? The street's right there. They're not in cars. And the home is 15 minutes away, straight down there. So do I go or do I stay? And I mean, I'm caught red-handed. The car is still smoking. So the cops run to the edge of the street. They point at me, you. They run in front of the car, pull into the gas station. So little did I know, these cops were answering a call on the other side of the gas station to some disorderly drunk lady. All their cars were parked on the other side of the gas station. They were over there. I did a burnout so long that they heard it, ran around, looked to find it, was able to come around and see me finishing it. and then start their chase. So I pulled into the gas station. I had a female cop with her gun drawn. My music's on full blast. They're yelling at me, command. I can't hear them. I'm too nervous to cut the radio off. The car's full of smoke. And so I'm trying to cut the car off and everything. So I shut it off. They drag me out. They give their usual speeches. What the hell were you doing, son? What do you think this is, a racetrack? I mean, we could have t-shirts made of all the cop quotes. They proceed to go ahead and handcuff me. And I'm just like, I was just doing a burnout. Sorry? They were very upset, to say the least. And I really couldn't see why. I thought it was such a minor offense. So they load me into the car, into the female officer's car, and she proceeds to give me one of the harshest lectures I've gotten from a cop ever. I'm just like, ma'am, are you gonna arrest me? She's like, yeah, you're going to jail tonight. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm going to jail for this? I thought this was a ticketable offense because I'm 18 and I'm so damn smart. And she's like, well, it is usually, but I also have the right to take you to jail for it. So my first trip to Gwinnett County Jail, to any jail, was because of this righteous burnout. They did let my friends take my car home. I still was a living legend because of it, especially because of getting arrested for it. I got a ticket for exhibition of speed and laying drag, also excessive sound, which of course they had to hit me with because I couldn't cut my radio off fast enough, I guess. The ticket for excessive sound was $180. The exhibition of speed ticket was $100. I was like, really? So the noise is worse than the burnout, but the burnout sends you to jail? Okay. And I got picked up, and my uncle and my stepdad were just like, hey, this is what happens when you do that. I definitely got 3 points. It did not get suspended until about a year later when I got many more points for speeding. And then it was suspended. I did learn that lesson. No more speeding. Or no more getting caught speeding. And I proceeded to do many burnouts thereafter. Still, it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it.